You also mentioned that poker is not just luck, but there is some strategy.
Poker is kind of burdened by stigma, and there is this perception that is pure luck game. But from my own experience, there is a big strategical component.
How do you prepare yourself strategically and mentally?
It's kind of an interesting thing. A tournament can last up to 10, 12 hours, and you don't have so long break, but you're in constant tension. My heart rate could literally stay over 110, 120. So like moderate sports, it's like, cool, I don't need to exercise anymore.
I'm super fit now.
Exactly.
Your name is José Andrés, like the famous Spanish cook.
I made my Twitter account quite early. I registered with the name just José Andrés. One day I got an email. They offered me to buy my Twitter account. So I did a counter offer and asked for 20K. Bill Clinton, the actual former president of the US, mentioned me.
You wanted to build a nuclear plant at home, right?
Well, I don't want to get in legal troubles.
Pretty sure you are on some list now.
Bill Clinton is looking at you, Jose. Good morning, Giorgio. How are you doing today?
Hey, Ivan, good morning. I have a bit of a sore throat. I don't know if it can be noticed through the
Yes, we
podcast.
notice a bit. Yeah, you're a bit more masculine today.
But yeah, I guess it's a season.
Yeah, probably as well, yeah. So today is our last podcast of the season, right? Of season 1. So congratulations, Giorgio, we made it. We recorded one season. Let's see if we record a second one. Can you please explain quickly why we are closing today? I mean, it's not even 15th of December.
Yeah, but still, it's almost 1 year of podcasting. I think we did probably almost 40 episodes, I think, so far. Something like that.
Something like that.
But we also have now a lot to do still before probably the end of the year. So we're working on 3 different products in parallel, as usual. Despite we always promise ourselves that we will focus.
But now we are doing it with a sales team. So that's good. We managed to hire a sales team. And hopefully next year, if we record again, we can introduce one of them. And probably for one of the episodes, because he has also an interesting story. It's similar to Giorgio's. Like a crazy little kid doing crazy stuff instead of being just a kid.
even crazier, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, probably. So for the end of this season, we have another special guest, José Andrés Rodriguez. How are you doing, José?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Usual winter weather here. But yeah, all good.
Today, we are going to talk about something because we know that our podcast, well, we really don't know because officially we never said, but our podcast is kind of about entrepreneurship, AI, and whatever comes, I guess. We adapt to it. But we want to focus, or we have been focusing later on entrepreneurship. And today we are going to talk about poker. And you guys might be wondering, why poker if you are doing entrepreneurship? Well, if you think about it, sports are a kind of like entrepreneurship because at the end, you take a sport or a game in this case, and you try to build a business out of it, a profitable business. And that's what we are going to talk today about, right? Like how to make poker a profitable business. But before we get into that, Jose, I want to ask you a bit of your background, right? So everybody can go to LinkedIn to check your profile to see who is Jose Rodriguez, but I would be interested in knowing your opinion. Who is Jose Rodriguez in your own words?
Okay, that's a good question. So, I would say that, my name is Jose. I'm a middle-aged, I would say sometimes kid of 38 years old. I'm originally from a village called Madridejos, which is in Toledo, in the center of Spain.
The old capital of Spain.
The old capital, proudly. So I'm father of a great boy. I'm married to a brilliant woman, and I'm as a profession, so I'm a software engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, that's more or less what I would maybe say. So I've been in the software engineering market for now. It's been 20 years if I count the student time. So that yeah looks sounds big now.
You asked me actually to participate in the podcast, right? So the idea came, so we were discussing what to talk about, and we decided to go with poker because for me, it's kind of like an entrepreneurship, what you are doing, right? But I know why I wanted to invite you, but I would be interested in knowing your opinion. Why did you want to participate in this podcast? Also for us as a feedback.
Right. So I mean, when we started talking about the chance opportunity, right? So it came to my mind that actually poker, as you also mentioned before, entrepreneurship and poker are closer than they seem. So poker has quite a few components that connect both worlds. Like so, you also have a budget, let's say, that you want to manage. In poker, it's just called bankroll. Sometimes you need to make tough decisions, and I'm not only referring to maybe hand to hand, but also like when deciding which tournaments you have to choose, or whether you do a re-entry or not in a tournament, or even choosing the market. So yeah, we can maybe elaborate later on if it's convenient. So I mean, sometimes you don't really know what you're doing either, like if it works or not what you're doing,
We
and
can relate.
yeah, I can imagine, right? So and then you can only realize if something worked or not when you get some results, right? Or if they don't come, also you can realize that it didn't, right? Yeah, so let's say that that's one of the reasons that I thought that it could be a good match potentially if you agreed. And then also the poker market, let's call it, it's also in constant evolution. So it also requires resilience and adapting to the changes that are constantly coming. So that's maybe one of the reasons, and maybe there is a second reason, which is poker is kind of burdened by stigma that sets it apart from other games. So it's like the game that you play in a casino, right? And in a casino, as we all know, there are plenty of games. Some of them involve more luck than others, and there is this perception that poker is purely, or at least a large of extent of the population, I would say, think this is a pure luck game. But I think that so from my own experience, there is a big strategical component, so a mental as well.
We will get deeper into that afterwards. But first, I want to tell the audience about your name. Your, your name is José Andrés, like the famous Spanish cook. And you had a couple of funny stories with your name on Twitter, right? Could you please elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, that was fun times. So like back then in 2010 or so. So I had a situation. So I made my Twitter account quite early when the social network started, right? And that was like, so I registered, I think, like in 2009 or so. And then there was, I registered with the name just Jose Andres, just as that. There were
Lucky
not,
you.
yeah, I thought, I guess. And then one day I got an email, and it was a marketing company that were working with Jose Andres, the chef. So basically, they wanted to they offered me to buy my Twitter account, and by that time, yeah, without getting into numbers, maybe I thought that it was very little what they were offering me. So I
Why
kind of
not? Say the numbers, Jose.
all right, yeah. So they wanted to pay me $500 for the account, right? Which
That's really cheap. Yes.
for something that it was free anyway, like we thought, we could, but I was like, okay, let's see what I can maybe get out of this, right? So, so I did a counter offer and asked for 20K, and they say the flat no.
did,
And
did they say something? Did they answer?
yeah, so
Okay.
it kind of initially started like, we would be interested in buying your account. What price would you actually set? And so, and then actually, yeah, true. Now I remember better. It happened that way. I said like 20K, and they said like, no way. We were more thinking of something like 500 or so. And then my reply was like, well, maybe We could find somewhere in the middle. I thought like maybe you can invite me to the US, which would be much cheaper price than 20K, and maybe I can do I don't know.
But first class.
Yeah, I asked them for a job interview or something like along those lines, and they said, and I never got an answer. So like, yeah, this guy. So yeah.
Very opportunistic. And what was the other one? There was another one, right?
Yeah, there was a second one much later. Actually, right after the pandemic started, so that was in 2020.
It's always after a crisis, right? There is something happening.
So looking forward to the next, yeah, funny interaction in Twitter whenever, yeah, is the whatever is the next crisis. But yeah, so what happened is, so I was just, not a regular user in Twitter. I had my account, but I was just checking it time to time. I got sometimes interactions, people quoting me as if I was the chef, and then I was doing funny replies. Well, my cooking skills are not shiny, so but I was just replying with funny things, sometimes posting a picture of a Spanish omelette, whatever, as a reply. And then there was this one day I didn't realize, but I just checked my Twitter account and I thought that I had like several dozens of notifications, and I was like, what's going on here? I further checked, and then I started to see replies mentioning me, something related to kind of politics, people laughing about it, whatever. And I was like, what's going on? And then I went to the root and I saw that Bill Clinton mentioned me, the actual former president of the US. And I was like, what happened here? And it seemed like he made a mistake and mentioned me as if I was the chef. He wanted to mention the actual cook, right?
Mhm.
And then people told him, and then he rectified. He's like, "Oh, I realized that I mentioned the wrong José Andrés. Well, sorry about that, and hello to the other José Andrés." And I was like, "Wow."
But you answer something to Bill
Oh
Clinton.
yeah, yeah.
No, please say it.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah, so as he made a mistake, I kind of wanted to try to be funny. I think I wasn't, but I tried. And it's like, hey, Mr. Trump. It's like, oh, sorry, I met Bill Clinton. I also mentioned Trump, like, let's see if I get him to react well. Yeah,
The-
never happened.
it's funny that I tried for 1 month to go viral with my Twitter account, and you went viral without doing anything at all, right? Just by having that name.
Yeah.
But yeah. So to give some context as well, some funny story. Like you are married to our last guest of the podcast, Ildi, right?
Yep.
Could you please explain what was the gift that she gave you? The first gift actually in your relationship that I told you when I saw it. I told you, Jose, you need to marry that woman.
That was also a very nice thing. So
It was, yes.
yeah, so basically, we were by that time we were starting to know each other, but it was just um, by that time like 2 3 dates, and then she had a very nice deal with me. So she cooked a lasagna for me on purpose, which it was amazing. So it was super tasty, and
I
well,
tried it. I
you
can
saw the
guarantee.
portion, yeah. It was a huge portion what I got, and yeah, it was a really great thing. And actually, I thought like, wow, she has a really kind heart, barely knowing me and already having such a great detail, because it takes a long time also to prepare that, and so, and yeah, and then it was delicious as well. So yeah.
Do you have any expertise in lasagnas, Giorgio? I know you have with pizzas. You are really picky. But what about lasagnas? I mean, they're also Italian.
Well, yes. I mean, I can make that. I'm not as picky as some Italians.
That's
if
true.
you go,
Could be worse.
they get somebody from Bologna or the area
Mm-hmm.
and ask them about lasagna, they're going to be very picky.
So, Jose, going back to your background and trying to connect with the next topic, you started many different hobbies and also projects, right? You started apps, you started playing piano, which I also did with you together. You also started singing, but probably the most bizarre thing that you did, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe this is a urban legend, you wanted to build a nuclear plant
Oh gosh.
plant at home, right? Is that right?
Well, just to maybe put that more precisely, because I don't want to get in legal troubles. No, joking. But so I kind of the whole thing started because I started to read a lot about fusion energy, and so became interested in the topic. And then I thought like, okay, let's take a look at how it works. And then I found this kind of university project. So someone was trying to put together pieces in order to build a small fusion reactor, which, as you know, not even today it's yet net worth, right? Like you cannot produce more energy than it requires, or at least not to the extent that it's usable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but then I saw that and I started to check. It's like, oh, okay, this is cool. And started to check the materials, like deuterium. Okay, you can get that. All the kind of infra. I don't remember any more the details. But I thought about it, and it was like 1 week of kind of curiosity, funny research, and so. And then
And you
until
were you were buying the actual components
I,
already.
I didn't buy them. I was just kind
Ah,
of researching, like, could I
okay.
actually get everything that I would need to kind of do an experiment at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed feasible until I discovered that the amount of electricity you need a source of like 20, 30K volts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I thought like, okay, this is when I should probably abandon, because the idea, otherwise it was like a high hazard of yeah, electricity, let's say electrocution issues, right? So,
What could go wrong building your own
exactly.
nuclear reactor at home, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was more like an investigation thing. Never got to it, hands on. So.
Pretty sure you are on some list now.
No, yeah. The
Yeah.
FBI has you for sure. Bill Clinton is looking at you, Jose.
I didn't say my full name, right? So I'm safe. It's okay. Yeah.
So from all these projects, side projects that you started, at the end you abandoned them, right? Also because at some point you had a kid and you had to prioritize things, right? But there is one thing that's stuck in this side project thing, right? And that's poker. It's something you started a long time ago and you're still doing it, actually. And I would like to get into that, right? Why, from all these different cool things that you started, because they were quite cool things, why you stuck with poker?
That's an interesting question. So it kind of started little by little. So I think I started playing around 2009, 2010, maybe something like that, because
After the crisis as well. You had a lot of
exactly.
time after the crisis.
That year, wow. No, but so what happened is, I think it was someone at work that kind of told me something about poker, or I'm not even sure how it exactly started, but I started to get interest, downloaded Poker Stars software, started to play a bit. I was using just play money, so not actual money. And then I kind of got a bit of a grip on it, right? Played more
Mm-hmm.
and so, and and then I started to play in the micro limits, which are like when you're playing for cents, basically, right? That's very
Mm-hmm.
small amounts, and then it kind of happened that I got a very big chance to qualify to a huge tournament. There are these kind of tournaments that are called free rolls that you basically can play for free. And then there were, I will never forget that, because there were like 18,000 participants, and only top 10 got like a ticket with a value of $100 to play another tournament, right?
But wait, was this online or in person?
It was online, yeah.
Online. So you started online, right?
I started online purely,
Okay.
yeah. And then I kind of I qualified actually. Only top 10 players made it. So and then it was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh wow, I was like, I really didn't have much idea about poker, but so I guess I had a great run. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
lucky. And then I played the tournament that required actually that buy-in, but I played for free. So and then the top two players were getting a package to travel to Bahamas to the casino there and play a live tournament. So we were again like 300 players, and I ended in position 3, so
Ah.
super close, just one position far, and I could have changed like a lot of things, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that kind of motivated or incentivized me to kind of dream about it and kept trying. So it was kind of like that, yeah, growing.
So was it maybe from what I understood, maybe this is a personal perception. Was it maybe this the incentive to stuck to something like that you saw that you were good at it and you could see yourself long term doing it?
Yeah, it started like as a dream, like kind of, like okay, could be a way, like I don't know, something that I could stick to, and just see what happens. But I really did not have that much clue about what I was doing, right? So back then, so I had a bit of a lucky shot, and yeah.
I mean, lucky shot. You won one,
hmm
and you were third in the other tournament. So
Yeah, you could say from the results that that was really good, but
I mean,
when,
it's a lot of luck.
yeah,
If it's only luck, it's a lot of luck, right?
I guess I was doing something right as well,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a few things together. But yeah, I liked it, and I thought like maybe this can be something. So I kind of got stuck to it. Yeah.
When did you start more professionally? I mean, that was already a tournament, but you were saying that you were not knowing what you were doing actually. But when can you say that you started more like going to tournaments like on purpose, looking for it and knowing what you do?
So
Or are you still don't knowing what you do?
now I think now I know it better. But so let's say that I've been playing online for most of the time.
Mhm.
I started by then, but then I was playing like I was always playing in blocks of time. So I played until I don't know maybe 2 3 years. Um, then when I tried to play a bit of a larger tournaments, and when I'm playing talking about larger, I mean tournaments of a buying of 20, 30 euros online. So really micro or low stakes that they are called. And then, well, I started to fail. That was not so good. Eventually I got tired, like yeah, I think I should just stop with this, right? Then I had a break of like 2 years, then started again, and then I had yeah, stopped again eventually as well, because I was seeing that it was not going anywhere, that there were plenty of good players out there, or by far better than me. I was not studying either, or not trying to really, I was just trying to learn by practice. So I have to say that I probably played since I started more than 2 million poker hands or something along those numbers. So it's really a lot. And so
Two
you can,
million, really?
yeah, yeah, because when you're online, you can really also do multi doubling, play 4 6 8 tables at the same time. I've been doing that. Um,
Like a chess master, right? Like playing with different people at the same time.
yeah,
Check,
yeah,
check, check,
it's
check.
it's really
Okay.
like you kind of automate a lot of the things that you do. But eventually, again, no, not really results. So yeah, well, I was getting results, just negative results. And then I thought like, okay, yeah, enough, because there are like two ways of taking this, like whether you get stuck to it and try to get your money back, which then it's a problem. It's actually the direction of potentially becoming a ludopath, or like it has
Mm.
a few other risks. But then you can also have the perception of like, you just get tired of this, like, okay, I should put my time and money somewhere else. The money was not really a problem because I never really went with anything even close to risky, but the time was a well, it's a precious asset that I was definitely losing a lot of time there. So and then I stopped again, and it was in 2018 that I went to Vegas with
Mm.
Hildy, with my wife. We went for a road trip and visited the west coast of the U.S. Very recommended, amazing trip. And we did a stop in Vegas, and there I was playing some cash games. So in poker there are like two main modalities: cash, that you sit on the table at the table with some money, and then you can win, lose, but you can leave anytime; and tournaments, when you pay a buy-in, and then you're registered, you get your stack of chips, and then until you're done with all players or you're kicked out, it doesn't finish. So I was playing cash games and started to go very well. I left the week with so we were 5 days, and I left with over $1,000 in positive. And
Nice.
actually, yeah,
And that
thanks to
was in person, right?
that was in person, that was
Because
live.
I guess in Vegas you can, well, I guess you can also play online, but I guess when you go to Vegas, the idea is to play in person, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I was just playing at the casinos there, and because of the good result, I thought like, okay, let's maybe I should consider getting back to this. And somehow I started again. But unfortunately, not for too long, because in 2019 there was a regulation in Switzerland. The law changed, and basically online poker got banned. Literally, it was really like that. So
Is it still like that?
it's not anymore like that.
Okay.
But it was like that for approximately 2 years. So it was only until more or less end of 2020 that it came back online. So
For the pandemic.
exactly, and then yeah, again things got complicated. So what happened is that because of the online game being banned, I decided to start playing just eventually live tournaments or live cash. And so
Mm.
my first experiments with live cash didn't go well, but then I started to play tournaments, had a couple of decent shots, and then I started to get a bit more into it. And then when online game was back, I was kind of trying to play both a bit in parallel.
Mhm. I have a couple of questions that you talked before about. So one is I'm wondering. You said that you were playing at the same time with six different tables online, but that's something you cannot do in person, right? So do you think that if you had focused more, only maybe one table at that time, you would have gotten more like better results? Because Giorgio and I we realized that we try now to diversify with different products, and at the end it was counterproductive. So that's why we had to focus, right? And all the experts say focus, 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 right? Do you
Mhm.
think? What do you think about that?
Definitely multi-tabling is something that can cause some dispersion on when you're actually playing. But it's also true that if you have certain patterns when you're playing poker, and it's always similar, because betting patterns, position, your stack size, and so when you're playing matters, and then um, you kind of learn those structures and learn to automate them. So when you have kind of that structure, uh, you kind of play um, almost automatically to some extent, right?
Okay.
So I don't know. It could have been a difference. I did some experiments sometimes, like reducing the amount of tables. Kind of went well, but only for a while, and kind of ended with the conclusion that it's more about my mental state on the one hand,
Mm,
because when you're playing poker, there is the concept of the A game, which is when you're playing your best, and that's very hard to keep because there are a lot of factors influencing that, right? You have a bad run, cards are not coming, bad runs can't really last. Well, could last forever, but it could last very long. So motivation falls, and then you really, this is what I was saying at the beginning, that then you don't really know if what you're doing really works or not. You really don't have that assurance, like, okay, technically I know all these hand ranges that you should play or not, but then it doesn't work, and it's like, am I having a bad run? Am I playing worse? And by that time, I was not really analyzing my game, so it was very hard to get some conclusions on what was the level of correctness of what I was doing.
and the other thing I wanted to ask you is that we talked about ludopathy, right? I guess you felt it at some point when you were working a lot, especially if you play at night, right? Like when you are tired and you are frustrated and then you play again and again and so on. How do you combat this feeling? Like, how do you not become a ludopath? Because I guess you can become one pretty easily, right? When you get into the vibe, especially if you're winning.
I think it can happen. I think everyone could potentially be exposed, but it's true that I was actually reading a lot about the topic because I've always been interested, especially if I started to become a bit of a more on the loser line. Then I thought like, okay, let's do a bit of stop and check on this, because usually people tend to ignore the or to acknowledge a problem.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's convenient to just slow down and think like, okay, do I have a problem? And I was reading about it, and there are some signs. I mean, it's not like a black or white thing, right? So it's kind
I
of
guess.
a yeah, it's kind of a scale, and then there are some kind of tests or checks online that you can read, like what are the symptoms of being a ludopath, right? And some of them were like, I want to get money back. That's kind of one of the most dangerous one, because then you start to go on higher stakes. Um,
Mm.
you lose 5 tournaments of $5. So you play one of $50 because you can get your money back faster, right? So, but then you lose. And then
Sounds
what do
like
you
the
do?
stock exchange.
Yeah. Then you lose, and then the trouble starts to get bigger. And then if you keep going up, then potentially you can get into financial problems, and then maybe you could be already labeled as a ludopath, right? By that time, or at least maybe an expert could determine that you are a ludopath, right? But there are many other signs. It's not only about the money, so it's also about the emotion management. So let's say you play, you go very angry to sleep, then the day after you are still very angry, and maybe anger lasts, and you keep playing angry, whatever, and the pattern continues. That's also a very bad sign. And I don't remember all the potential signs, but it's definitely a risk of the game. How to overcome that? So I guess there is a personality component, but I have to say that in different moments, without getting in any trouble, I've I think I felt one or the other feelings kind of at some point. Never love them at the same time because then also is the self-reflection exercise, right? Like, okay, what's going wrong here, right? Um, so let's say money-wise, it's never been an issue. Emotion-wise, it's been harder to handle. Actually, Ivan, you know me well, right? So you know that it takes only sometimes like a small spark.
You are easily triggered, yes.
Yeah. But I think also on that, I think I've been learning a lot over time, and it's something that that is really you kind of learn to deal with it when you start to distinguish. Knowledge is actually the key to kind of fight those kind of things, right? So you have a pocket aces. That's the best hand that you can have, right? And then someone has a 7 and a 2, which is the worst hand in poker. And then you go all in, someone calls you, then the flop appears and two sevens show up. Then he has a set or a three of a kind, right? And you just go away there with your pocket aces, which you were supposed to win, right? Yeah, but then you kind of accept that statistically there is like a yeah percentage. I couldn't tell right now, 15%, I don't know, that you could lose that pocket aces against 7-2. And then when you know that it's like, okay, it's actually happening 15 times every 100. So it's rare, right? But I mean, 15% is a big number if you think about it. So you learn to accept those when you learn, and then it's like, it's part of the game. So, yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of concepts that people might find weird, right? Like a flop and these kind of things. Even aces. I mean, aces is the A, right? Like, but flops and these kind of things are quite technical. So maybe you can give some description to
Yeah,
better
definitely.
understand.
So maybe just to quickly summarize how a Texas Hold'em poker, which is the most popular poker modality, is. Basically, each player gets two cards, two pocket cards, right? So the cards that only the player can see, and then there is the board and the shared cards. And let's say before any card is shown, there is a phase called pre-flop, which is everyone can do some betting based on what they have on their hand, and then a few players stay, a few fold, and when that round is completed, so meaning every player has bet the same amount, contributed the same to the pot, then the next stage comes, which is the flop. And the flop is that the first three common cards are showed on the table.
And there are
To
5, right, cards on
up
the
to
table.
five, yes.
Yeah.
Then there's another betting round. Then the fourth card is shown. That phase is called the turn. And then there is another betting round, and then the last card is shown, which is called then the river, when all the five cards are there. And that's basically the end of it. So on the river, when the fifth card is shown, there is the last betting round, and then there is either showdown, or maybe some player takes the pot because no one else wanted to call, or maybe the hand finishes earlier if there were no other players in against one of them on the previous streets that they are called, right? Each of the phases is
Okay.
called a street.
Thanks for the clarification. Now we are on the same page. Coming back to online versus in person, what are the main difference of that? So what did you experience comparing both?
Actually, they are very different in a few ways. Let's say the game in terms from the mathematical perspective is very similar. You still have the same statistics, right? Um, the same information on the about the cards themselves, but online has some advantages in terms of the volume. So, as we were saying earlier, you can play on multiple tables. That makes you being able to play many more hands. And actually, maybe we can go also through that eventually. But the longer, the larger is your data set of hands played, the more you can rely on your results being like profitable or not. So, because in the end, in the long term, good strategy at poker, it's proven to give good results. And with online poker, you get that, right? You get a high volume. You can play tons of hands. Let's say also not just that, but also when the cards are distributed among the players, maybe you can play approximately, I don't know, I would say 40 hands per hour or so. While in live poker, the rate is much lower. Is I would say between 15 and 20. I will need to check that, but something like that. So the volume is much smaller live, and you cannot do multi-tabling live, right?
Mm. And I guess it's cheaper, right?
Yeah, online is cheaper. Usually, it's hard to go to a casino and find micro. Well, it's impossible to find micro stakes, very low level tournaments like 4 cents or whatever. Also, that's on the maybe on the volume
Mm-hmm.
side of things. When you play live, one thing that you have is that well, you see the faces of other players, right?
Yeah.
And then that also brings another component. It's on the one hand funnier, it's more fun, more interesting. People sometimes make jokes. I mean, there are some connections. You can see people getting angry, living angry, reacting, celebrating strong when they win a pot. You don't have any of that online, but it also puts your let's say emotional state a bit
Exposed.
more, yeah, you get more exposed in that sense.
So the mental game you can play it in person, but not online.
Yeah, I mean, online you play differently. It's more about handling your own emotions, not
Mm.
getting very like angry, anxious, or desperate. Yeah.
And being these two variants different, so different, do you think, or did it help you to play initially online to be better at in person afterwards?
I think it really helped because online I could play a very high volume of hands, and then gave me confidence on what I was doing.
Okay.
Also, you learn a concept. Maybe you put it into practice, and online is much easier to put it into practice because you can try different spots and say like, okay, I'm gonna start betting these ones, these cards that before I didn't play them. Now I'm gonna start playing them a bit more regularly, and with that you can do, yeah, basically that reason.
You started in person when you went to Vegas? Was the first time?
I think it was there, yeah, in Vegas. I think once in Madrid, like
Okay.
much earlier. I went to play just one random day. But yeah.
And why did you end up? Because right now you do in person, or at least that I know.
hmm
Why did you focus on in person if it's more expensive, less scalable, right? Why?
hmm So there are a couple of reasons. First, online, I've got the impression that level is much higher. I think people has more time to kind of well, not more time because live actually you get more time to think about your decisions sometimes, but um, somehow the level of professionalism online when you go to the micro stakes is hard to beat them even if you know what you're doing. Level has been increasing over years. There are actually many pros that say that in 2010 poker was much easier to become a winner, but now everyone has a lot of possibilities to learn and it's become much harder. I think life is different because then you have all the personal factor. You cannot. So when you are sitting next to the screen and then you look at the hands, you kind of have an automated way to say like, okay, so this player has this amount of chips. You can see the stacks of the other players. While when you're live, you need to kind of look at their part of the table, kind of estimate how many chips do they have. It's like, okay, is this profitable move? Even counting your own chips is a bit of a hassle. You need to kind of be calculating, considering the price of the initial bets and so. And well, online the software does all of that for you, so you don't need to think. But live, you really need to put much more attention to all those factors.
And I guess the
So
pressure, right? The life pressure that mm, people are waiting for you and they are looking at you to do your hand. I guess online that doesn't happen, right?
Yes, that definitely affects and adds a lot of pressure to the game. So, at least in my personal case, the decision why, I mean, I kind of play both live and online, but it's true that mostly the results have been driving me towards live because I mean, so one of the tricky things about live is that you lose a tournament, then you go home. You need to do a trip back. If you have even traveled on purpose, it happened to me actually. I went to Paris last year, played. It was a bit of a disaster that trip. I played 3 hours. I got eliminated, and then I thought like, okay, so I'm just gonna go to the Airbnb, sleep well, return the day after. I had to try.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're online, you just play and then you're out and then you just go to, don't know, you're at home, right? So it's much easier to handle that. But for me, let's say ultimately getting back to your original question, um, online, it's I never dare to play on the higher stakes because of the reason I said that I believe that the level is much higher, while live you can find at the lowest tournaments still lower average skilled player on
Mm-hmm.
the table.
How is to participate in one of these tournaments? What is your personal experience?
So it's I think now it's less and less. I get less and less nervous, but at the beginning, so that you kind of I can explain a bit how the dynamic goes of a tournament. So
Go for it.
sometimes you don't need to let's say register in advance or something. You just go there to the desk where the organizers are, and then you say I want to register in tournament. You just pay the buy-in, and yeah, the already you need to kind of like, well, the usual things, right? You need to find the place, whatever, get in the area. If you know the place, I already know a few of them, and then kind of feels a bit more comfortable. But when you explore a new place, it's always like more interesting. You don't know the dynamics, you need to kind of adjust to that. But well, that kind of happens every time someone travels, right? So nothing too special. But then you basically sit there with another 7, 8 people that you don't know. Um, some look happier than others, some look more fancy than others. Then you start to be like, this guy looks very pro, whatever. Then doesn't. But the other way around, right? Like the guy that kind of does not look like any like a profi, then starts surprising you and starts to grow his stack. Of course, an individual tournament can happen anything. Like there is a big component of luck in an individual tournament, um, but let's say that kind of thing of sitting on a table to play cards with some other people that you don't know and that you're playing for money. Um, it's kind of an interesting thing, and actually I do a lot of preparation, not in that sense, but you go there to play,
Mm-hmm.
then you play for 1.5 or 2 hours, and then you have a break of 15 minutes, and a tournament can last up to 10, 12 hours. So it's a pretty long it can be a pretty long day, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't have so long breaks. There is sometimes, well, there's usually a dinner break, which lasts then 30, 45 minutes, but you're in constant tension. And then I prepare in advance a bit for that. Like I plan what I'm gonna eat. I take like protein bars, I take nuts, I take water or some other drinks to kind of prepare myself optimally, right? And then I kind of check also my heart rate. I do all these kind of preparations because when actually I realize a big difference when I play a higher stake tournament, my heart rate could literally stay over 110, 120 the full time. So like 10, 12 hours like that. So like moderate sports, it's like, cool, I don't need to exercise anymore.
I'm super fit now.
Exactly. That's the secret.
Do you interact with the other people or you don't? Because I guess there must be some mind games there. Like this guy looking fancy and professional, but actually he's a sucker, right? I guess there are these mind games, and if you interact with other people, you expose yourself to a possible manipulation game, right?
Yeah, there are some mind games, definitely. I wouldn't say that they are like so obvious or like so Hollywood or whatever, but there are some things definitely, some smaller details here and there. Some things I tried also myself a bit. So, for example, you end the hand, and then you lose your hand. You suspect that the other guy had whatever, but you don't know for sure. But it would be great to know, because if you know, then you know which kind of range the person is playing. So um, he doesn't show, because when you win, if the other player didn't show, you don't have to show the cards either. But then you can start to kind of play before he kind of completely folds the hands, and you can start to kind of touch the ego of the person, like whatever. I'm pretty sure you did not even have an ace or whatever, and then maybe you actually get the ace shown, right, which is already valuable information. So these kind of things also, like some people celebrate victories very very hard, and then that kind of can demotivate you or can trigger you, and then you can start to play worse. Actually, I fell for one of those traps 2 years ago in a tournament. It was like 1 a.m. We were playing already for like 10 hours. And
Shit.
it's also a factor, right? I mean, people underestimate um, the the impact of exhaustiveness, like tiredness, right? um, I was really tired by then. And then there was this guy that was always doing kind of a similar thing every time I was in the big blind. Big blind is the position when you are actually betting, forced to bet before to play, right? This is kind of rotating on the table.
They increase the bet, and you need to make it equal. Otherwise, you need to drop, I guess, right?
Exactly. And to make
Okay.
it equal usually goes to make it equal to the big blind. And well, of course, you can then raise that bet so that the big blind doesn't play, whatever. But yeah, so I was in that position on the table, and then this guy was just next left to me, which is the first one to bet, and he was always betting when I was at the big blind spot. He did it like 4 or 5 times in a row, and then at some point he made a couple of comments, kind of trying to show that I was a very tight player, and that he was doing that to steal my blinds, right? And actually, that was a bit annoying, because I knew that it happened a few times, and it was actually happening that I was folding every time. So I was like, okay, I had a medium hand. I called his raise, and then when the card started to show, he actually showed the pocket kings, which is a premium hand, one of the best hands you can get. And that was and then I got eliminated, because then eventually all chips got on the pot in that hand. I got something. He had the pocket kings, which were above what I had, and that was really annoying. I remember leaving that evening with a sense of disappointment and anger, and then it was like it took me some time until I started to cool down a couple of days, and then it's like, okay, let's look at this at a different way, right? Like, okay, what did it fail today? How did this happen? So you can really play these mind games, and they can really have an effect on the player even. So
You mentioned a couple of times already that you prepare in some way, and you also mentioned that poker is not just luck, because I mean we cannot say that it's not luck, because whole life is luck at some point, right? But there is some strategy behind it, right? So if there is some strategy, how do you prepare yourself for such a tournament? Apart from bringing your own food, not interacting with other people, but I guess before you go there, how do you prepare yourself strategically and mentally?
so for me, there are a few rules that I kind of keep, like hard rules, or things kind of a few, let's see, routines that I do. It's not very strict, nothing really fancy, right? So, but I make sure that sleeping really goes in line before a tournament day. And actually, I've not gone to a few tournaments because I didn't get a good sleep. So I thought like, I'm really just not feeling too well. So I'm not gonna go. I can do something else. It's not mandatory, right?
Hmm.
Unless you qualify whatever you have to, and then you kind of put yourself together, right? But if I have the option, I do that. Um, I try to listen to some music. I kind of get distracted. Try to have a chill time as much as family time allows it as well, right? Uh, but uh, but yeah, meant I don't do any kind of too much around that. Try to, like, I don't know. Maybe that morning I would exercise if I had the chance as well before playing. Yeah, something like
And
that.
when you are into the game and you are tired, it's 1 a.m. and you are losing, you see that you are losing, but you are still in the game, and people start distracting you in some way or playing this mind game. How do you handle that?
So
if you can at all.
yes, it was maybe more complicated in the past. When I didn't knew a few things that now I because it's like try and error, right? So something that works for me, I actually do a couple of things. So one is I always have my earphones, so I'm usually listening to music while I
Okay.
play. Um,
And that doesn't distract you from focusing.
no, it doesn't. It's kind of giving me also focus, indeed, and kind of keeps me isolated from the other players. So actually, and I think the two latest successes that I had were closely related to that's one thing, and the other thing is that I started to wear sunglasses. Also, something that you may think like, oh, he's doing it because looks cool, whatever, like the poker
It's not the
player.
meta glasses, right? You're not being held by AI, right?
It's not supported technically, no. So it's only, yeah, and then that kind of gives me isolation. So it's not only a tool to kind of not show what I'm looking or whatever, because there are tells, live tells of a player. Like there is something that amateurs do a lot, which is that when you want to bet and the cards that you see on the table are good, then the first zero point 0.5 seconds, there is something that happens almost instinctively, which is look at your chips. You look at your stack because you want to bet, and that happens almost automatically. So the sunglasses are a way to hide that, for example.
So
Or
you really need to look at people, right? Like to stare at them to see if they are looking at the chips in those 0.5 seconds.
yeah, I would say that something that usually does not happen from the people I've played against. I've noticed sometimes, but it's not really that frequent anymore, I would say. Or yeah, I think people is aware of that when you play. But yeah, you will need to be looking at the people, right? Also, when you wear the glasses, the thing is that you kind of keep a higher level of isolation, and it also, in my personal case, it gives you additional focus. Yeah.
So you kind of create the same environment that you have online, but in person by isolating yourself.
Yes, and that's actually the best way I found to export all my online knowledge to live, because then I can start, thinking a bit more about the odds, looking at the stacks of the players, even observing what everyone is doing without being noticed that much that I'm like, oh, this guy is actually really very, very attentive. Yeah.
And this kind of analysis, you cannot rely on some notebook. You need to do everything mentally while you are thinking about the strategy and the chips and handling the mind games and everything at the same time in your brain. You cannot rely on anything external, right?
Yeah, you cannot rely on any external tools. And actually, there is a tendency of phones not being allowed anymore, more and more. I mean, at least not while you're playing a hand. And then between hands, I know that some casinos are starting to, or are considering to ban it. So, yeah, no
Okay.
support.
How do you measure success in poker? What are the KPIs or the main KPIs? I guess there are many.
Right. So one of the main KPIs is actually the profit, right? So how much money you've made and the money that you've invested in doing the buy-ins of the cash tournaments, whatever. So that's the main KPI. There are other KPIs though. So um, you've got like more specific game-specific KPIs, like how many times you go into paying the flop round, so right until the three first cards are shown, and there are like percentages that are like around the optimal, right? And then if you go above that or below that, you are considered a very loose player or a very tight player, and those are kind of weaknesses, right? So those are some of the potential KPIs. There are other things like the stakes where you play, like depending if you play on higher stakes or lower stakes, that could also give you a hint of um, when the results are coming. Let's say if it's not the same to be a winner in high stakes than being a winner in the very low levels, because on the higher stakes where more money is managed, then it's harder. The pool of players is technically harder. So, and
Ha-
it actually is, right?
What is a high stake where the entry bet is higher or
Yes, where the entry is higher, yeah, exactly. So instead of yeah, you would pay then 1,000 francs instead of 100, then that's a
ju-
higher stake, right? I
just
mean,
to play, right? 1,000 francs just to play.
just to
That's
play.
considered already high stake.
Um, I would say that's considered. I mean, in live tournaments, so online is definitely higher stakes. I mean, yeah, as an extension, I would say that live as well. But to be honest, I never looked at that actually. But the tournaments of 1,000, like whichever currency, right, are very common indeed. Very, very common.
The ones in Vegas is also like that, or we are talking about a couple of thousand.
There are all kinds of tournaments. So let's say what there are in different places are called festivals, and then as part of a festival, you find all kinds of tournaments. You can find tournaments of like a low price, but then you have the high rollers. The high rollers are tournaments which really cost a lot of money, and a lot of money I refer to amounts like a 20, 25,000 the entry.
Okay.
That's really like insanity levels, right? Um, but yeah, there are actually regular players, pro players playing those and being profitable on those. So, but you can find all kinds of tournaments, and maybe the most famous one is the World Series of Poker main event in Vegas that has a cost of $10,000.
Talking about profitability, are you profitable right now?
Well, thanks to the performance of last month, I am. I wasn't before, but yeah, I had a very good run lately. So online, I was always in red numbers. Well, most of the time, and actually in years, that's why maybe I also tend to now move to live because I realize that results are coming and I can handle that better. But live, I won recently a tournament with around 100 people, so that also to set the audience expectations. We are talking here about a recreational player that maybe is trying to handle the whole poker hobby with the professional patterns, right? But I would not call myself even semi-professional because I'm not really making a living out of it or even close. But yeah, I won that one, and then also lately in Liechtenstein, I also won a tournament of 500 participants. So also both of them in position one. So that's actually because when you get on the prices, there is a big difference between the first, second, third, fourth prices as well. So
Oh,
thanks to those, I became now profitable.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We were saying about the sunglasses from Meta, right? Um, Actually, from what you described, those could be convenient, and I guess they will be banned at some point, right? And because at the end, the AI is doing the analysis, all the analysis for you, right? Or it could, I guess.
I could imagine that could influence the game in a way that it would get banned. So I don't think that you would be allowed. Very likely. I have not seen anyone to even try. But I could imagine, yeah.
Have you seen AI getting into this poker sector in any way? Maybe online. I don't know.
So what I've what I've seen AI into is so for learning, it actually helps a lot, especially with the latest features. Also, like you can put the learning mode. I've tried that actually with ChatGPT, and it's actually pretty okay, I would say. So you can train all kinds of things, like what I do in this spot. I mean, it's not 100% good or even remotely, but
But it's
but
theoretical,
definitely
I guess,
it's
right?
theoretical. It
Okay.
helps you. It makes some mistakes in terms of assumptions or whatever, but when you put some scenarios, it can help you. It can help the training. So let's say for learning, the pool of players out there is on a tendency to be better and better because these tools are available. But also, so there are a few tools, and also actually are forbidden also to use them while playing online because it could be cheating literally.
Hmm.
So there are the so-called solvers. So solvers are basically tools that can um, so they are using decision trees to kind of explore all potential options when you have a certain pocket cards, right? And they kind of give you like, right here is this percentage of times you should be betting or you should be folding, and so. But
Hmm.
it really gives you very accurate information. There is this concept called GTO, which is a game theory optimal, and then it goes kind of around that, right?
But we are talking about old-fashioned AI, right? Not
Yeah.
LLMs or so. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that the
Decision
case.
trees.
I mean, I saw actually just because we knew that we were gonna do this session. I checked a bit, and seems to be something called Pluribus or something, some AI that it's apparently beating even pro players in terms of yeah, like even adapting to their game, learning, and then improvise and actually defeat them. So let's say it seems like poker is a game that is already like done in terms of artificial intelligence, right? Same like chess, for example, right? But yeah, that doesn't mean that competition is gonna get worse. And actually, I think it's just gonna evolve in different ways.
In how many ways, maybe? But you can maybe mention one, at least that you
Um,
think.
right. So I don't know.
You can just say I don't know, and that's it,
Yeah.
right?
um,
But it's pure speculation. We love to speculate in this podcast, you know.
that's good. So let's say that when you have a player playing in a certain way, um, I could imagine that AI can give you some live coaching on how to play against that player. I'm also guessing that all those things would get banned, right? So let's
Probably.
say it's gonna increase restrictions, and I think actually, so people could use an AI to play online, right? You could build a bot and you could put it to play, but then softwares like PokerStars would realize actually they have implemented very very strong measures. By the way, that brings me to something. At the very beginning, I was also tempted to think that some of these online websites were rigged or whatever, right? But with experience, I really got confirmation that they definitely are not, because you can read articles, whatever, but still have your own doubts with your own experience, right? But then I really realized that it is not the case, and the security measures that are in place are really powerful.
Hmm.
So I think also something that can come with AI is that it's going to be like this fight between security related between the websites and the players trying to fool the online poker sites, right?
I wonder if you can work around those security measures by putting your GPT Atlas, the browser from OpenAI, to play, right? Because at the end, it's not going through API, but it's just interacting with the UI like a human would do, right? And it's
Hmm.
pretty slow. So I guess it's, I don't know. It could be interesting to do the. If you want another side project, Jose, download Atlas and put it to play on Pocket Stars to see what happens.
Somehow I'm not a big enthusiast of having that, band risk. but but yeah, I mean, so these sites actually try to identify like your betting patterns, your time
Okay.
patterns, and then also how you move the mouse. They can, for sure. I mean, I don't know, but I'm betting that they can realize if you are moving the mouse in one way or another, and if something really drastically changes, right? Then it's like, okay, it's not that person anymore.
Okay.
So
Have you considered to become a poker influencer? Because I know you had your Stitch. No, how is this? I don't even know the name.
Twitch, yeah,
Twitch. Sorry, you had your Twitch account, right? That you were doing lives
yeah.
with it. Are you considering becoming a poker influencer or micro influencer at this point?
So there was a time that I thought about it because I was like, okay, since I'm gonna be playing online so many hours, let's just do something fun in parallel. Let's stream it and see if anyone kind of interacts at the same time, and then it's also like an entertainment for me, right?
Mm.
Um, so it kind of started that way. Eventually, I stopped, but I think it was more because of infrastructure. So my computer got broken, then I was lazy to configure all that again, and so. But putting that aside. I have thought about it, but I think it brings an additional work uh, that requires time that I don't really have. I mean, well, everyone has time for anything, right? It's just a matter of priorities. But yeah, somehow I have not prioritized that. I don't know if I will. Might be. Yeah.
Probably if you win a big tournament, probably you will. Because the market will ask for it, right? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Let's see.
Let's see.
What What's your long-term goal here with poker?
So you're asking this at an interesting time because so it was very recent, my last victory that actually could make me question what are the next steps. So I don't really have a long-term plan, but I would say that the plan is like keeping poker as a hobby and as a long-term one. So probably if I keep making wins, I will continue going maybe a bit higher in the stakes, or at least kind of balance the frequency with my current lifestyle. So I would probably continue sticking to that, and then let's see where it brings me, because the magic of poker, and that's why it's cool and allows you to kind of dream, is that if you have a couple of good runs, then it can really help you to go to a much larger event, something like that, right? So I'll go with the flow.
Are you considering at some point to dedicate fully to poker, like 100% of your time? So basically becoming an actual professional, right?
Mm-hmm. So short answer, no. And to elaborate on it, so the lifestyle of a poker player, of course, you can tune it as you wish, right? But there are a couple of things that I don't really like too much about the lifestyle. I like to have it as a hobby. It's fun, as long as it's not my main source of income. But one of the first things is that, and maybe this is not like I'm a risk aversion. I have risk aversion, but um, you know how much you can play, but you don't know how much you're gonna get back, right? So, and then there is the variance factor, so the luck. Um, it's really unpredictable how much income you're gonna be getting on certain periods of time, and probably, yeah, as entrepreneurs, you can probably well relate to that. But that's
Definitely.
but that's kind of one of the factors, right? It's like no, I wouldn't go that way. But then the other is also the lifestyle. So like you have the nights, the long plays, journeys of over 10, 12 hours, and then maybe you have to play like 2, 3 consecutive days if things go well in this case, right? It's I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those things, and also the nightlife in like I don't know, casinos and so. They are not, let's say, wonderful environments to, let's say, spend a professional life.
And just to close up, will our next podcast with you, Jose, be in Las Vegas?
I hope
Live.
so.
Hopefully live,
I hope
and we
so.
can do a documentary podcast. That would be interesting.
I
I
would
mean,
love that. Yeah.
you promised us, right, that you would go to one of those big tournaments in Las Vegas one day, right? So we are
I
waiting for it.
promised. Yeah, I know, I know. It may happen. Who knows? The only question is when, but yeah, let's see. I keep dreaming about it.
Me too. Thank you, Jose, for your time.
Thank you very much for
It
this
was
opportunity.
quite interesting. And Giorgio is disappearing from time to time, guys, probably because he's sick.
trying to blow my nose.
But okay, blow your nose in. Can be understood. But anyway, so this is the end of season 1, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back hopefully in January if our workload allows us to, right? And again, thank you, Jose, for your time and your experience. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and closing the season as well is a special one.
I enjoyed a lot. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I was very happy to talk about this with you.
Giorgio, any closing words before we close the season?
No, I say thank you also to all the listeners, and we hope to see you again next year.
Yeah, hope to see you in January, and Merry Christmas.